In Virginia, more than 457,000 kids rely on the free and reduced price meals they receive at school. And with school out due to the pandemic, organizations like No Kid Hungry Virginia are doing all they can to help keep food available for those children. And here to share with us more about No Kid Hungry Virginia is the former First Lady of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Dorothy McAuliffe. Good morning, Ms. McAuliffe. How are you doing?
Good morning. Well, we're doing fine. Nothing to complain or worry about here, but we sure do know a lot of folks have a lot of challenges in front of them, and I thank you for having me on today so we can share some of the good work that No Kid Hungry Virginia is doing to help school districts in this time of need. So thank you for having me.
And I touched on it there briefly, but give us a little more background on No Kid Hungry Virginia. Tell us a little bit more about your organization.
Well, yes. So since the time I was First Lady, when working on school meals and access to school meals, breaking down barriers for kids for lunch, before school, school breakfast, and after school meals and summer meals was a big priority. And I worked with school nutrition directors across the state and all our school districts, and definitely have great relationships with many of your teachers, principals, school nutrition staff down in Bristol area. We provide grants, so during COVID we're providing direct relief to school districts to help with the extra costs associated with feeding kids during this crisis, whether it's school nutrition staff and overtime pay. And I really have to give a shout out to our incredible school nutrition staff who have just risen above and beyond during this crisis. And then also the extra materials that are required. So the federal government reimburses for school meals, but there are a lot of other costs associated. And so No Kid Hungry helps offset some of those costs with our grants. And we also provide technical assistance to our Department of Education and our school districts who are looking for flexibility in how we serve these meals during this pandemic. And so we provide technical assistance, and we're also advocating at the state and federal level of government to make sure that we're giving schools and our students and families all the access that they need during this really terrible scourge of the pandemic.
And I know right now one of the messages you want to get out is about this number that you can text the word food to 877-877 to find food sites near them. Explain that a little bit more, that folks are maybe not know where they can get food for their children.
Absolutely. Well, there's two ways, and No Kid Hungry Virginia is helping fund this texting line, which is very convenient for folks. And all you do is as you say, you text 877-877 the word food or COMIDA to that number, and on your phone will pop up details about feeding sites near you that are related to the school meals, and also our food banks are also helping as well. And so if you text that number, the information will pop up on your cell phone. So we use this during the summertime to help those that rely on school meals and need those meals during the summer to find summer feeding sites. But we are using this now during this crisis to help families locate food that's available for their students, for their children. And so we've got about 10 feeding sites that are happening through the school districts in Bristol. And a shout out to Kathy Hicks, who's the head school nutrition director in the Bristol City Public Schools, and others surrounding counties as well. You can find information both on your local school website, but also through this texting line where we are supporting the Department of Education in Virginia as they support feeding across the Commonwealth.
I know there's a lot of figures, a lot of stats, a lot of numbers out there concerning hunger issues in the Commonwealth of Virginia. For you, during this pandemic, what is the one number, the one thing that has jumped out at you when it comes to feeding school children in Virginia during the pandemic?
Well, it's just, I would guess that 20 million Americans are going to be, are facing unemployment, and that number continues to rise. We've always known that school meals are a really important piece of education. And then making sure that children whose families need that extra help have those school meals available to them, even prior to a crisis. But that crisis is growing. there's going to be many people throughout this economic recovery whose families are going to be that are challenged now. The numbers are growing, and they'll continue to grow. Prior to the pandemic, 650,000 students in Virginia alone qualified for free and reduced meals. So the reality is that number is going to continue to grow before it goes back down. And so the flexibility, the innovation that is happening, the partnerships that are happening with No Kid Hungry Virginia, with food banks, that partnership has always been there supporting schools, but those partnerships are more important than ever. The other piece of this is we have to make sure that our federal government understands how important these school meals are, how many families are relying on going to be relying on SNAP, going to be relying on food assistance of all kinds, and food banks and schools are an important tool, but they cannot do it all. And so we are going to have a real national strategy around food security as well as public health going forward. And so I just appreciate everyone looking into, if you don't rely on school meals, looking into supporting those who are providing these meals through No Kid Hungry Virginia, Feeding America Southwest, and supporting with any resource you might have, because we just help our neighbors. That's what we need to do, and we need to be there for each other.
Absolutely. Stronger together. Dorothy McAuliffe, thank you so much for taking some time with us today. We're going to have that text number and all the information on the screen right now. Thank you so much for everything that No Kid Hungry Virginia is doing during this time of pandemic.
Well, thank you, Chris, for helping us get the word out, and the word and news is so important these days, so thank you for what you're doing. We really appreciate it.
All right. The numbers are right there on the screen.